everybody. Hey, Dennis Turney Jr. asked me to do this. I'm going to talk about my band, Thrash or Die. It's going to be kind of like a weird behind the music type thing. I'm going to try to not leave everything out. I wrote everything down here on a little pamphlet of events that happened in Thrash or Die. So I hope I remembered everything. So let's get this started. All right. The way Thrash or Die formed was the guitar player. His name is Hell Vomit Sodomizer, by the way. He was born with that name. I saw the birth certificate. Well, he called me, we're friends. He called me one day and he said to me, I want to start a thrash metal band. And I was like, cool, man, more luck to you, because I've never wanted to be a musician. I'd never wanted to be in a band. And I think it has a lot to do with how I was traumatized back in like 83, 84, when I used to hang out with my friend's band, Iron Cross. And his singer was late, and they did a cover of Rock and Roll Rebel from Ozzy. And they said, hey, Ralph, why don't you sing Rock and Roll Rebel for Ozzy so we can practice it? I said, all right, and I did. And then after the song was over, the guy from another room came in, and he goes, hey, who was singing that? And I was like, oh, that was me. He goes, don't ever do that again. And that kind of traumatized me, man. I never went by a microphone again, so, yeah. Not even karaoke. Till after I joined the band. But, so I went to this store. There was a store in Fort Lauderdale back then that only sold metal music. It was like 2007, around there. And I went there and I bought some metal, man. And I bought the new Onslaught at the moment album called Killing Peace. I popped it in my CD player. Now, I was already aware of the song, Killing Peace, because of the radio show I used to go, be part of. So I'm driving home listening to this, and that song Killing Peace, at one part, a couple parts of the song, he says, spitting blood in the face of God. And I sang along with it, and I thought, hey, maybe I can do this. So I called up Hell Vomit, and I said, hey, Sodomizer, I think I can sing thrash. Let's get together. Let's write some songs. So we did. And we wrote 2 songs in one day. One of them was recorded but lost. And it was called Fucking Bitch. It was lost, but it was recorded, but it's gone forever. And I don't even remember how it went. That, and we wrote another song called Wake Up, Smell the Thrash. That song became probably our second most popular song. That song, the first thing about that song I gotta talk about was when we opened once for this killer band called Vector, and when we were done, the singer, guitar player Vector came up to me and goes, man, that song rules, that song where you mention all the thrash bands and stuff. I was like, oh, thanks, dude. So that was very cool. And there'll still be more, I gotta talk more about that song, because it's something really big happened with that song later. So we went through many lineup changes. We had a bass player, a guitar player, and a drummer. That didn't work out. Then we got another drummer, and that didn't work out. Then we got Caesar. Caesar's a friend of ours. He was in this killer band called Hibernus Mortis. And he agreed to join us, which was awesome because he's an amazing drummer. But then, then the rhythm guitar, then the other guitar player was gone. Then we had to fire the bass player, who was a great guy, and I'm still friends with him, And then we got in Caesar's brother, Chris, who went by the name, what was his name again? Triple X Whoremangler. And Caesar was Darth Vodka. So we got him, and then we got this young guitar player called Mario. And we used to call him Mini Thrash, but he didn't want to be called Mini Thrash. But that was the lineup. That was the lineup that ended up recording the first album. We played a lot around the area, and when we first formed the band, Willie and I both had 2 goals. One goal was do the split with Hellwitch, a split, vinyl thing. That never worked out. And our second goal was to play the Culture Room. And not only did that work out, that we ended up playing the Culture Room, we got a big following here at the Culture Room that even our first show, because it wasn't our first show at the Culture Room. We had played warehouses and we played a couple bars that we gained a bit of a following that when we played the Culture Room, a lot of people showed up for us. A lot of people bought our shirts. And the owner of the Culture Room, Greg, noticed that. And noticed how well we went over live that he kept asking us back. We opened for Wasp, DRI, Misfits, Propane. I'm talking about Culture Room. We ended up opening for other killer bands later at other venues. But yeah, it was great. We had a great following. This is before our first album. We did have demos that we would give away at shows. And it was like a good following we were getting, you know? And then, few years go by. It took forever, but we finally finished the album. I'll tell you, the album, check this out. The album, the drums were done in October of 2009. The album didn't come out till May 18th, 2011. So that shows you how long it took, because there was so many things that happened. Our warehouse was broken into, where luckily, not lucky, they stole the drums and a bass, but they didn't steal our Pro Tools and our computer, and the other guitar and the other amp. So we kind of got lucky, and but anyway, a lot of things happened. Then when the lease was up, I left the warehouse. So we recorded the drums in the warehouse. We did the guitar. I don't know where they did the guitars, but I did the vocals in Hellbomb and Sodomizer's bathroom. And I had to do it with the light off, because with the light on, there was a ceiling fan. So we set up, we set everything up there. And I sang that in a dark bathroom, that whole album. And pretty much, except for, I think, TerrorVision, everything was one take. I was like, they were calling me the king of the one take, because I kept doing everything on one take. But I think TerrorVision, I did a couple takes. But anyway, the album came out. Now, it got a great buzz. And then there was this guy that worked at the Culture Room called Dan Jackson. Dan Jackson is a freaking genius, and I can prove it. Dan Jackson loved our band a lot, that he came up with the idea of making a puppet video for the song Wake Up Smell the Thrash. And he even got people in Chicago to make these puppets, and they sent them all down, and there was a puppet for each band member. So we helped them film it, which was very hard to film that video, because I had to put my hand in the puppet and like lean down so the camera wouldn't get me. So my arm is way up in the air moving. It was hard. All the band members did their own puppets. Well, Dan did some stuff too later on. But anyway, Dan was responsible for the thing. It came out so amazing. So damn amazing, that video. And the video's on YouTube. And I went and looked, and it's at 334,000 views. And I remember when that video was released, man, the albums were selling because of that puppet video. There was a spike in sales. And then we got promoters, knocking on our door. Oh, wait, before I go into the promoters. We did play a show at the Culture Room. And a guy came up to me after the show saying, "Hey, man, I work for Lloyd Kaufman. I'm part of the Trauma movies. And I was wondering if you would be interested in writing a couple songs, because we're doing a sequel to Return of Nukem High." And I was like, fuck yeah. Well, he asked us to write one song, not two. So my drummer's a big Trauma fan, and so is my guitar player. We're all freaking out. Wow, man, they're asking us to write a song for the movie. So we did. We wrote a song called Return to Nukem High that came out awesome. And then we also recorded a cover of the original Nukem High. And we sent them both to them, But there was a lot of, man, I had a deal with the guy that wrote the original Nuke 'Em High, because Lloyd Kaufman was like trying to get his okay. I don't know. It was a lot. I remember being on the phone with the guy, and you think the guy just wrote Stairway to Heaven or something. He was so protective, and he was like, I don't like your version. Well, cool, man. I like my version more than yours. I did tell him that. I go, that's cool. That's your opinion. My opinion, my version blows yours away. You know, but he was afraid of Lloyd, and he finally gave his okay. And if you watch the first Return of Nuke 'Em High, during the credits, that's me, that's my band, Thrash or Die. And I got to credit the drummer, Caesar. He wrote everything in that song, lyrics, music, and he recorded it, played drums on it. He did an amazing job. So there you go. So then, we got booked to play Puerto Rico. And yeah, you know, I shouldn't even bring this part up, but you know, just some band members, and I love them all, don't get me wrong. They had to leave the band for one reason or another. I'm not going to even bring up the fact. The fact is, these guys that were in the band and ended up leaving the band, they all busted their ass for this band. They played their ass off on the record. They played their ass off live. So whatever reason they had to leave the band, hey man, I respect it. I mean, after all, it's like, dude, you know, you have your life. You got to do your thing. Thank you so much for helping me out. But we had to get new members. We lost members left and right. And to the point where it was only me and Hellbomb and Sodomizer left, the two that started the band. So we found a bass player who was friends with our new drummer, Alex Marquez, who's some of you death metal people out there would probably know who Alex Marquez is. He's played on Retribution from Malevolent Creation. He also played on Demolition Hammer and Anger, and he toured with Righteous Pigs. I mean, and Richard Christie, the drummer that, you know, ended up in Howard Stern, he ended up saying in a video how Alex Marquez was one of his biggest influences. Well, we got him in the band. And then we got this young kid called Ryan that we were like the first thrash band to form down here in South Florida, but a couple years later, another thrash band formed called Atomic with a K, and Ryan was their singer guitar player, and we became friends. I said, hey, you want to come on tour with us? Because we got a tour booked. So he came along with us. That was our lineup, and we toured and toured. We played Puerto Rico, we played Costa Rica, we played Europe, played the East Coast. Unfortunately, never got to play the West Coast, though we were booked, but I don't want to talk about that. Somebody in the band stole money from that promoter, but I ain't going to talk about that. But anyway, so then we record the next album, Melting Your Skull, which I love both albums. I'm very proud of both albums. I love them both. I love every song off both of them. I like Melting Your Skull a little more. I just think it's more thrash. You know, Poser Holocaust had kind of like a melodic vibe here and there, where Melting Your Skull was just cutthroat. But there were a couple songs that, you know, bled over. I mean, the original lineup on Poser Holocaust did end up playing Garantula and Street Trash. Those two songs were later on Melting Your Skull, but the original lineup did play it many times. And then, you know, we got Alex on drums and Josh on bass. I called them Mosh. And then Ryan Nightcrawler. You have to have a name in the band, you know. And, oh yeah, and my name, Dr. Fuck, that's how I came up with that name. It was weird. I was on the phone with Hellbomb and Sodomizer trying to think of a name. You know, because, you know, everybody in the band had a weird name, and I was like, I just blurted it out one day. I said, Dr. Fuck. And he said, that's it. And that's how I got my name. But anyway, Melting Your Skull, very proud of it. Kick-ass fucking album from beginning to end. Now, I'm skipping, but I got to bring up back when the Puppet video was made during the Poser Holocaust days. Dan Jackson wanted to do an animated video for what I think was our biggest hit, No Pose Allowed. That's the one where I see people singing along to. Anyway, so he wanted to do and he started making an animated video back then with some friend of his. But something happened between him and his friend. I don't think it was a fight or anything. Just life got in the way and they couldn't finish the cartoon. Fast forward, like, I don't know, 2-3 years ago, Dan called me saying, hey, man, that guy wants to finish that cartoon. You cool with that? I was like, do it, dude. They made an awesome animated cartoon to No Pose Allowed. That's fucking awesome. And, man, I can't be prouder. You know, I thought that was awesome. But anyway, that was toward the end. And then, I also want to bring up facts that there's people from around the world that got Thrash or Die tattoos. How badass is that? Thrash or Die tattoos. And I did see Thrash or Die bootleg shirts sold on eBay, and I was like, I wrote the guy going, hey, man, you know that's my band? And he's like, oh, cool. But I'm not one of these people. Like, hey, man, that's a bootleg, take it down. I ended up buying the shirt. Because I don't care, man. I really don't care. I'm not that anal. But anyway, yeah, tattoos. Now we'll come to the end of the band. We were booked to headline a festival in Colombia, right? Now, at this time, Hell Vomit was gone. I was the only guy left in the band. So we got a guy called Poochie and another guy called Gio on guitar, right? And on drums, Brutal Brian Wilson, who was my drummer in my other band called Combat. And Brian Wilson played with Yngwie Malmsteen, Hellwitch, and now he's on tour with Night Demon. He'll be opening Night Demon with King Diamond and Overkill. They're going on tour together. Very proud of Brutal Brian. Anyway, he played the Columbia show with us. And when we got there, we first played a show in this little town we were in, man. It was really third world country type vibe. I mean, it's just this little hut thing. And there were like, I don't know, maybe like the most 100 people there. And we played a gig. There was no stage. We played it on the floor. They stood around us. They moshed. And then we went to the festival, which was very far. We drove through mountains and shit. And Brutal Brian Wilson got car sick. It was pretty brutal getting to the place. It took many hours. And we were crammed in a little van. There was no room for any of us. So, we finally get to the place. We get to the festival, and I couldn't believe the amount of people were there. You know, a lot of bands played, and we headlined. And it was the greatest feeling of my life, was watching like 3-4 different pits going on at the same time. You know, it's just an ocean of people, 8,000 people. It was for us, and there were people there singing our songs. They were all going crazy. It was amazing. And while I was on stage, somebody in the crowd yelled perico. Now, perico in Spanish means cocaine. And I said, yeah, I heard Colombia's got the best cocaine. I mean, don't they? They make it over there, don't they? But anyway, I said that, and then, you know, I did the rest of the show, no big deal. One lady out of 8,000 people there was offended by what I said, called the radio station complaining about it, and man, news travels so fast. This little fucking rinky news of me saying, I heard the best cocaine's here, made it to the evening news. Now, mind you, they were looking for me to arrest me. They were gonna arrest me. Now, while they were looking for me, I was already on the plane back to Miami. Right? And in the news, they said, oh, we got footage of the singer of this band doing cocaine, which is, man, you talk about fake news in America. Over there, they talk about they got footage of you doing a cocaine, but they don't show the footage. Anyway, when I got back home, the promoter called me saying that, dude, you need to apologize. You need to, just apologize for what happened and blah, blah. And I was like, all right, and I did. Because the thing is, Colombia, the people in Colombia and the promoter and everybody that dealt with us were fucking awesome. The crowds were awesome. They were great people. I meant no offense whatsoever. I just said, I heard the best cocaine's here and kept talking. But anyway, I did the apology and that was the end of it. But another thing I left off was when I walked off the stage in Colombia, 2 policemen came up to me and wanted a picture with me. All right? This was after, before the lady called the radio. And backstage at the Columbia show, I told my band, hey, I want this to be the last show. No more shows, man. I want to end it like this. After all, I'm the only original member left. I don't want to go on, and I would love to end it like this. This is a way to end it, man. Performing in front of 8,000 people going crazy. That's how I want to end Thrash or Die. But we played one more show. I don't know. Maybe it was even 2 more shows in Miami and some bars, But, so I didn't get to fulfill my dream of ending in front of 8,000 people. But doesn't matter. I am so proud because everything I did in this band was grassroots. I ran the label. I ran the band. I did everything. Everything. And I accomplished so much with no label help. And by the way, I was offered a deal. And I'm not going to talk. I have the email to prove it. But I'm not going to talk about the deal was offered. It was a big metal label. And they wanted me to pay them $5,000 to distribute our music and, keep publishing and shit like that. I was like, nah, I'll do it my own. So everything was grassroots. I'm very proud. You can get Thrash or Die and Amazon everywhere, man. And, I dealt with CD Baby. I sent stuff to CD Baby and they put it on Amazon, BestBuy.com, everywhere. It's on Spotify. It's everywhere, thanks to them. But that was it. No more band. It was over, but I was not sad about it. I was very happy and proud of what I achieved. Thrash or Die, man. It was a dream come true that I never even dreamed was possible. Me being a singer in a band. When somebody told me, 30 years ago, don't ever do that again. Well, I did it again, and because of doing it again, I ended up touring the world, all right? So never, never let go of your dreams. Even though you don't have that dream, and then one day you're like, hey, let me try this. Go for it. I did, and I think I did damn well. I sold a lot of damn records with no help from nobody. All grassroots. So thank you, Dennis Turney Jr., and also my condolences to Dennis Turney Jr. because he recently lost a friend, and he said he was going to go to do a speech at his mourning, and my deepest sympathy, my friend. I'm really sorry to hear that, and I want to thank you, man. Thank you so much for everything you do for me. You are the shit, and I'm glad you enjoyed the CDs of my bands. I sent them some Thrash or Die and Combat. I'm glad you enjoyed it, my brother, and thank you again. And everybody out there, thank you so much for watching my behind the music Thrash or Die thing. I hope I didn't forget anything. Like the video. And subscribe. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't. Ring that little notification bell and like the video, because that'd be good for the YouTube algorithms. So stay frosty, listen to Black Sabbath, and smack 'em a gob.